studying here versus abroad.
Yeah, hopefully we will have a great conversation about school. We're going to compare education abroad and education here. You were born and raised in Kenya?
Yeah, so I was born in a village called Chemnoet in Nandi. So I grew up in a rural setting, humble background, went to, a normal primary school, and then, went to a Kenyan high school and then left to study in the US.
Okay. That was how long ago?
It's like 15 years ago.
15 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's nice. Why will you want to study abroad? Like, do you think we don't have a good education system in Kenya?
No, I think for me I was lucky. So I was one of the best students in the country that 2005, and actually my plans were to just go to University of Nairobi, study medicine. I'd been admitted to School of Medicine here, but then an opportunity came. I was invited to apply for a scholarship program called CANSAP, which helps the top students in the country to apply for universities in the US. And I was lucky to be one of the 15 students who were chosen that year. And and I think at that time, there was this, I think, almost 2-year gap between high school and joining university. So I was stuck at home doing nothing, and this opportunity came, and I was like, let me just try it out. And it turned out to be, I guess, the best thing I'd ever done.
What's the process like? Is it the same as our Kenyan system, that you have to wait to go to, after you're done with your Form 4 or grade 12, you have to wait for 1 year or 2 years to join university?
No, I mean, so for Americans, actually, they join immediately. So, for example, you finish high school in the summer, which is usually probably by July, and you join university by September. But then it's because you do all your exams and applications the year before. But then for us, because we didn't have that opportunity, so we had to take that 1 year to study for the exams, TOEFL, which is test of English as a foreign language, and then SAT exams, which are standardized exams for high schoolers in the US. And so I took that and then, started applying. So US college applications are very tough. Like, it's a whole process. So you have to write essays explaining about your life, what you do outside class, So besides the grades that you got in KCSE and the SATs and TOEFL, I think you also have to, talk more about yourself, because they're more interested in you as a person as opposed to your grades. So they want someone who's all-rounded, as opposed to here where it's just about the grades that you get in your high school exams.
Okay. Yeah. You've talked about that in America or studying abroad, you apply a year before. Does it mean that you apply while in high school before joining?
Yeah, so you apply in high school. So your last year of high school is when you're doing your applications.
Okay.
And usually, so you apply by December of your... So the system is slightly different, right? So the semester starts in September, ends in June. And so in your final year of high school, that's when you do your exams and everything, and you do your applications. By December of that year is when you get your admission letters. And then you join the next year in September. Yeah.
So after you're done with the essay, your application and stuff, how long do you wait for them to reply? And then what period do you take so that you go for studies?
So there are two sets. So there's one called early decision, so which is that one you get to know within a month or two. But then for that one you have to decide. So if you're applying to Harvard, for example, you can't apply to any other school. So you have to apply to one, because if you're admitted, you have to go to that school. But then there's regular decision, which usually the decisions come in April or late March. And for that one, you can apply to as many schools as possible. When you get admitted, you then choose what school you want to go to. And so there are those two. So for people who've decided they want to go to a specific school, they'll apply on early decision. They know by December what school they're going to. And then for those who, they want to, I guess, pick their choice or have more choices, they usually apply for the regular one, which usually takes longer because, you have to go through a longer process for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the system, like our Kenyan system, we can have evening classes, we have regular students. Is there same?
Yeah, so there's quite a, there's no, it's just one set
Just
system.
one set, like
Yeah, so it's full-time.
full-time. There's no part-time.
There's no, there's part-time for, so for example at Harvard there's Harvard Extension School, which is pretty much for people who want to do part-time. But then for the main Harvard that you hear about, I think a lot of it is full-time because I think there's quite a lot of activities going on besides just like classes and stuff. So yeah.
Studying in Kenya, most of the time the courses that we take, it takes you to maybe the course that you take makes you like you're not all-rounded at most of the time. You one-sided most of the time. So in Harvard or studying abroad, is it knowledge-based or technical skill-based?
Yeah, I think there's quite a big difference. So I think I went to a liberal arts school, which is Harvard, and it's very different from, I guess, our system in the sense that they want you to be an all-rounded individual, and the way they do that is, as I'd explained to you, was, you take like 4 courses a semester. For 8 semesters, that's 32 courses. But then for you, let's say, to be an economics major or like to graduate with an economics degree, you only have to take 12 to 15 classes in economics, right? The rest of the classes you fill it up by taking classes in other departments. So that enables you to have a all-rounded education in the sense that, besides studying economics, which is your main course, you're able to study other subjects, which, obviously helps you have a, broader view of things. For example, myself, I studied government, but then I took probably 10 classes in economics, took some math classes, I took some writing classes, took some history classes, took, a range of other classes besides what, even finance, for example. I took like a finance class, financial accounting, which was like one of the best classes I took actually, even though I was a government major in that sense.
It has given you a global exposure. Does it mean that you can be a doctor, you can be a teacher, you can be a nurse at the same time?
Yeah, so so the difference in the US system is for professional courses. So undergraduate is not for professional courses. So you have to get a master's for you to, for example, to be a lawyer or to be a doctor or to be one of these other professions. And so for that, it's slightly different. So a lot of us, or a lot of the undergrad is pretty much molding you to be an all-rounded individual. And then once you've decided exactly what you want to do, then you can now go for an advanced degree to be able to specialize in a particular field.
We talk about the grading system of studying abroad and studying here. Here it's about, did you score an A, did you score a distinction, did you have a credit? Harvard or studying abroad?
Yeah, there's grading system, and I think it's very competitive compared to here.
Okay.
So, because as you know, like Harvard brings the best of the best from all over the world, and if they were to just say an A is from 80, everyone will get an A, right? So what they do is they balance it out. So they standardize the grading, so that a certain percent of people can get an A. So sometimes you'll find getting an A, you need to get a 95 or even a 97 for you to get an A. So it's very competitive in that sense. But grades matter a lot, especially if you want to, get a good job after graduation or go into grad school, or so they do pay a lot of attention to the grades as well.
What's the difference? I get 95, I have an A, I get 90, I got an A.
No. So for you to get an A, you have to get sometimes it depends on the course though. So some courses you'll find, so because of the standardization, you'll get a course that is very difficult. The A could be even 70, right? for some courses, an A could be 95. So it's very standardized, so that, you know, there's that curve. So there's a few A's and then B's, so it has to align.
Harvard is the best of the best, and it produces the best. Why will you study abroad and come back in Kenya?
So myself, so I didn't come back immediately. So what I did is, after graduation, I got a job to work in the US. So I worked for 3 years at a company called Bloomberg. So I was a financial analyst. So as I said, you know, even though I studied government, I went into finance because of the education I've gotten. So it doesn't really restrict you to a specific field, right? So I was more keen on finance, but then I was interested in more government and, you know, getting to, I guess, learn different things, right? And so, yeah, I mean, so for me, I think I wanted to get, you know, study there, work there a little bit, just to experience, you know, how life is outside school, because sometimes there could be a bubble. You could live in a bubble in school thinking the US is this very nice place, and, you know, but then you go into the real world where, I mean, there's a lot of challenges and stuff. And so, and then I think, you know, working in corporate America, I think is one of the best experiences that I would say has molded me a lot in terms of, you know, work ethic, in terms of the skills you get, you know, from, because most of the skills that I would say I have right now are skills that I learned at my first job out of college. Because in school, obviously, you learn the basics of, you know, critical thinking, writing, you know, expressing yourself. But then in terms of the hard skills that you need for a job, I think you don't really get a lot of that. And so my first job was where I really got the hard skills, you know, that have really helped me through my career so far.
Okay, you got a scholarship.
Yeah, so I was lucky to get a full scholarship to Harvard. I don't think.
What do you mean by a full scholarship?
So a full scholarship is where they pay everything for you, so including tuition, accommodation, your travel expenses coming back home every year. So my parents never had to pay even a cent, like for the 4 years I was at Harvard. Yeah, so I was lucky to have that, and I think that really gave me, I guess, the grounding and, you know, the stability to be able to enjoy, like, you know, being at Harvard and not having to feel that, you know, you're from Africa and from a poor background. And yeah, so I think that was really helpful. And besides that, I think I was also lucky that I was part of a scholarship program that was set up by one of, you know, an old Harvard alumni who was very keen to learn about his scholarship, or the people he was sponsoring through his scholarship. And so he used to host an annual dinner where he'd invite all the students that he'd sponsored. And he was like one of the best, I guess, mentors that I've ever gotten. And he was one of the people who actually influenced me into going into finance in that case, because he was he'd founded an investment bank in the US, and, you know, he's like very successful. He was in his like maybe early 80s. He was like this old guy, super experienced in life, and, you know, it was very good to be mentored by someone like him.
If you had not gotten a scholarship, what other means could you have used to go to Harvard? Maybe probably was Harvard your place, you know, you wanted to really to go to study, or?
No, I mean, as I said, I mean, I think when I was in high school, I was more keen on I was keen on making it in life. And I guess here, if you're smart and you make it, I think, you know, being an engineer or being a doctor was like, I guess, the ultimate target or the ultimate goal for someone. And so for me, I think, like, you know, Harvard came, it wasn't, I mean, okay, I'd heard about Harvard and how good it was, but it wasn't that I was like sleeping and dreaming about it every day. So it wasn't that. I mean, it was just like, once I got into the scholarship program, the program that helps you get the scholarships, I was like, yeah, I mean, I have an opportunity to get into Harvard, and so I was like, yeah, why not apply? So,
given an opportunity, I mean, you've been to Harvard, learned the nitty-gritties of how the education system is there, what do you want the Kenyan system to change?
No, I think, I mean, so I didn't study in a Kenyan university, so I wouldn't know what to compare. But I mean, just from what I've heard from other people, I think our system should, I guess, teach people to be a lot more flexible, as opposed to being tied to one thing. So have all-rounded individuals, as opposed to just, if you're a doctor, you're just a doctor, as opposed to being a doctor and a manager or an entrepreneur doctor, for example. Because if we had more entrepreneur doctors or entrepreneur engineers, for example, I think, it would do a lot more for the country, as opposed to people who just want to be employed. I think, because Harvard, I think, really inculcated this thinking around entrepreneurship and being flexible about things and being keen to learn about different things that doesn't even, concern your career, for example, or concern whatever you're doing at that time. So, for example, when I came back to Kenya, even though I'd been in finance, and I came back and set up a dairy processing facility. As in dairy, I'd never done anything to do with dairy. So, but I mean, I was just like keen and interested in, studying something that, could benefit the community, create jobs, and change the whole system. So.
What are the challenges of studying abroad as compared to studying in your home country?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge is obviously adjusting to a new system of education. Because I mean, I think here there's a lot of emphasis on, I guess, cramming things, and we don't write enough, we don't read enough in our system. And so when I got there, as in one class, I mean, weekly you're assigned like maybe 1,000 pages to read for your class.
You want to mean that in Kenya we don't have a reading culture?
I mean, not the amount of reading that you have to do, because at Harvard, I think, for every class, you are assigned, as I said, like 1,000 pages to read every week. As in, like, so sometimes you have to figure.
Who do the same in Kenya.
But I don't think I don't feel the same though, because I think and the way the classes are set up is, so you have to prioritize, right? Because if you have 1,000 pages, how do you make sure that you've gotten all the details that the professor is trying to get to you before the next lesson? Because I mean, for most of the classes, they were very interactive. So, for example, if you didn't read, you can't contribute, and class contributions was probably, in some classes, it was maybe 40% of your grade. So you had to actually read, and obviously you don't want to sound stupid because you didn't read. So yeah, I mean, so there was that, and then there was a lot of emphasis on writing as well. So I remember, you'd write like at least 10, 20-page papers probably every other week, right? So there's a lot of emphasis on, obviously, as I said, explaining your concepts, contributing in class, and then writing. And so you had to be a very good writer over time, because I mean, you had to write a lot and also write in a very structured way. And I think for me, those are the most critical skills that I got out of college, mm-hmm. like being able to write well and being able to explain things in a very, I guess, good way.
Apart from the reading culture and the one that you've said, were you able to mingle, or are people from different countries, students who have come to study abroad, mingle with each other, or is there racism? Because I have heard there has been the news, we have read, we have seen that racism is something that is there. Did you experience such kind of a thing studying abroad?
Yeah, I think for universities, I think is a different setting from, let's say, the general America, right? And I think, I mean, even in Kenya we have racism here, right? Like, I mean, there's that discrimination everywhere, but I think you shouldn't also look at the movies or look at the TV, like news from CNN and stuff, you know, saying, oh, there's racism in the US. I mean, there is, I mean, but it's not like everywhere, or it's not everyone, right? There's obviously like a set of people who are racist in essence. But I think majority of Americans are very nice people, and I think I had a lot of fun, like, when I was there. And in school as well, there's a lot of interaction, because I think with school, it's like everyone is there to learn, right? And you know, diversity really helps bring that out by, you know, having people from different cultures, people from different countries, people with different experiences. Because, you know, how would an American know more about Kenya if not from someone who's lived in Kenya and, you know, gone through Kenya? So
okay, I'm going to cut you shortly, but we're coming back. This is Diaspora Fusion on Look Up TV. I'm your host, Jupiter Mayaka, and you can find us on our Twitter handle, which is Look Up TV, and on our Facebook, Look Up TV. On our YouTube channel is Look Up TV, and as well as IG, Look Up TV Official. As well as you can SMS us to 20374. We'll be right back after this break.
You're watching Look Up TV.
Kibera slum. It's different and the biggest of its kind in Africa. With people drawn from different backgrounds, all united in their quest to beat the odds and change their lives. Amid a grinding poverty and neglect, theirs is a life driven by hope for survival, engineered by 3 Ps: patience, passion, and perseverance. Join us on Look Up TV as we shine a light on Kibera's untold stories.
Turn your 50 bob into $1 million shilling investment. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel. There's millions in shillings worth of prizes to be won. Send your 50 bob to paybill number 4040153 and get a chance to win 20,000 shillings daily. And each week, one person gets a chance to walk away with a Mazda Demio and another a Beth Mobility motorbike. Remember, the more times you try, you could be the winner of a fantastic Toyota Prado. Do not be left out. Send 50 shillings to paybill number 4040153, account name Look Up TV, and get yourself a Hometel lucky number. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel promotion. For more information, visit www.shindagari.co.ke. Terms and conditions apply.
Je, ungependa kujua jinsi ninavyojizuia kuambukizwa au kuambukizana virusi vya korona? Ni rahisi. Mwanzo, ninaziendesha shughuli zangu zote za kikazi na hata za kibiashara kutoka papa hapa nyumbani kwangu. Baadaye, ninaitunza mwili wangu vyema kwa kuiweka katika hali iliyo sawa kupitia mazoezi ya mara kwa mara na pia lishe bora. Mwishowe, ninaungana na jamii yangu pamoja na marafiki zangu kupitia njia ya simu au mtandao ili kuzuia dhiki na upweke wakati huu mgumu. Kumbuka, haijalishi kama uko na virusi vya korona au la, salia nyumbani, uokoe maisha.
Oka abako kezia mpaka nitakapomaliza naye ndio utampata.
Mbona ninyi mkumbe wanyama pori mkaishi na wanyama wenzenu huko? Hebu nisaidie kufungua.
Toka hapa ni baya amesema mtoke.
Toka, enda. Peleka huko. Tuondoleni hapa chawa na kunguni. Ulimtupa ushauri huo jikimbilia Canada. Waachana. Sasa hata hivi kuza wangu hautakia nini? Hata unarudi upenzi.
Kiza Savimbi, I am taking this child to hospital. Ole wako. Niambiwe na anything wrong with her. Tajua mimi nani?
Nyinyi watu wawili mnashirikiana kupokonya watu mali zao alafu mnakula mkinenepa tu.
Kezia, Wednesdays from 8 p.m. only on Look Up TV. You're watching Look Up TV.
Welcome back to Diaspora Fusion. This is Look Up TV. I'm your host, Jupiter Mayaka. Be part of this conversation by sending your SMS to 20374. Abel Barreto, welcome back to the second session of our program. And we are talking about, we're comparing the study abroad and study in Kenya. So, you've been to abroad. Why don't you come back and change the system? Or you went abroad just for yourself? It's personal, it's individual. I'm not going to help the Kenyan system, education system to change in any way to become better as a country. Are you not a patriot?
No, so I think I'm a patriot. If you think of, yeah, a lot of Kenyans go abroad and never come back, right? So I'm one of the few Kenyans who've gone abroad. You know, I could have stayed abroad if I wanted. I already had a, work permit on a way to a green card. But then for me, I wanted to come back home and change how things work here. But as you said, I mean, I think changing the system takes quite a lot, and I think we have to change. The way I see change, or the way I'm bringing change is, through what I'm doing now in terms of, developing the local entrepreneurship ecosystem here in Kenya, and funding entrepreneurs, and making people think outside the box in terms of what they can do in life, as opposed to just wanting to be employed, as opposed to creating things and creating opportunities for others.
Okay.
So that's how I feel like I'm bringing change here. On the education system, I think that's something that probably the government should do, or should review our education system just to make it a lot more.
You can be part of the government, because you will bring your knowledge, your insight into the government, and help change.
I don't know, but I think if you think of it though, like we have some of the most brilliant people running our education system. It's not for lack of brilliant people in those offices. I think it's a matter of people just, deciding that, it's time to do change or to make changes. And I think, that's going to take, I don't know, a collective effort from all of us, or from, government, private sector, and, multinational organizations as well.
Okay. I wanted to go study abroad, and in our Kenyan system, you can go to work 8 to 5, and then you go to work, not 8 to 5, yeah, go to work 8 to 5, and then part-time classes. Does it happen in studying abroad? Like, if I don't have the scholarship, I don't have the grants, I haven't been given, and I want to go deep into my pocket, the cost implication is going to be too high, so I have to survive. How do I survive?
No, I think I guess we're the lucky few who obviously got full scholarships to study in the US. But I think majority of Kenyans who go study in the US, or pretty much Australia, or in the UK, or whatever, a lot of them, didn't get full scholarships, or didn't get any scholarships at all. And a lot of them go there, work, manual jobs, like, sweeping the streets, or being watchmen, or even like working in nursing homes, just to pay for their school fees. So you'd find someone working 4 or 5 shifts a day and still taking classes and graduating in the end. So, and I mean, the universities in the US that you could afford, you could afford to pay for yourself, right? So you could work during the day and then do your night classes, or even work during the week, take your classes on the weekend. So there's quite a lot of flexibility when it comes to that. Yeah, and you can afford to do that, even without a formal job. Like, most of these jobs are shifts. Like, so for example, you get 4 hours here, get maybe another 3 hours somewhere else, get maybe 5 hours. At the end of the day, you've worked like maybe 12 hours, and you're paid per the hour. And you can afford to pay for yourself, like, to study.
It's not entirely that our Kenyan system, our education system, is really it's different from studying abroad in Harvard and stuff. But then again, can you, were you an ambassador that you can tell other students or other people, the friends that you met with, that they can come and study in Kenya? Because also in Kenya we have good university.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them I see.
Like recommending someone, like, you know, you can study in our university in Kenya.
Yeah, I mean,
Study abroad.
that's quite difficult to, explain to an American, because I think it's very difficult to study here and then, you know, go to the US. And unless it's, you know, a university like USIU, which is, I guess, across, you know, it's a US system university, right? But I've seen a lot of people having to go start from scratch, right? So a lot of people got maybe green cards, they had their careers here, they had their degrees here, but then they got there and, you know, probably they have to start again, or maybe shift to another career, and so they have to start school as well. Yeah, I mean, but I think there's quite a lot of interest from American students to come study abroad here. So for example, maybe come here for a semester, or maybe come here for a few months just to study something, or maybe write about maybe their experience in Kenya. So there's quite a lot of that, and I think a lot of them were keen on learning about probably the colonial system and, you know, trying to do some research. So there's quite a lot of activity by, you know, US students coming to Kenya to do those kind of research, especially in the summer.
To study abroad, do you have to know the second language? Is it a matter that I have to have the good English so that I can study abroad?
Yeah, I think, because you're going to be speaking in English and everything. You have to be good at expressing yourself. Basics. No, I think, because they test you though. So one of the tests that I was telling you about is like test of English as a foreign language, TOEFL. So they usually just want to know that, you know, you can write and, you know, you can understand or comprehend whatever you're being told, or whatever you're reading. Yeah, and they do pay a lot of attention to your, you know, like TOEFL scores and also your SAT scores. So the SAT has two sections. So there's SAT 1, which is pretty much like reading comprehension, critical thinking, and then also a writing bit. And then there's the subject ones where, you know, they test your math, your science skills and stuff, or your science understanding. Yeah, so you can't really run away from being good at English, actually. So
like I can have the basic English, like I can be talking, but I have my mother tongue, what is it called? Mother tongue dialect, you know. Is it a factor?
Yeah, it is. I think, and that was one of the things.
Like if we say there are other countries that come to study abroad, but they have this of their own.
Yeah. You have to just be confident about your accent, actually, at some point. Because I see a lot of Kenyans go there and they want to speak like Black Americans, or like Americans, like twanging and all that. But yeah, it's frustrating when someone can't understand. You know, you can speak English, obviously. If you've gone through the Kenyan system, obviously you can converse in English. But then if you're speaking to someone and then they're like, can you repeat what you said? Because you pronounce maybe something differently from what they usually pronounce. And so for me, at the beginning, that was very frustrating. But over time, I think, you know, you just get used to it, and, you know, if they don't understand you, that's their problem. It's not your problem, because, like even them, like sometimes they speak in a way that you don't understand. And English is not their language as well, so it's everyone. And you can imagine. I think the comforting thing is a lot of Americans just speak one language, which is English, right? For you, you have your mother tongue, you have your Swahili, you have your English. And so you're like in a better position because you can speak 3 languages like very well. They can barely speak more than one language. So I think for me that was usually what I would tell someone, do you know how many languages I speak? I speak 3. So like you can't fault me for not like knowing how to pronounce 1 or 2 words in English. So.
Okay, so it's not a challenge to someone who is brilliant, who is bright, because it's all about the academic merits. That's going to make you to write the statement of purpose so that you join a university abroad. So if I have my dialect, that is no problem, so long as I'm bright enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but yeah, but socially it's kind of frustrating, right? But you know, when it comes to class, so long as you can write well, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, if if you have your mother tongue influence in your English, then I think it's fine. But then so long as it doesn't affect the way you write, the way you, I guess, explain things in class and stuff, yeah. And it doesn't affect your sense of worth, right? Because I think sometimes people get depressed because they kind of feel like, oh, I mean, I can't speak well, or I can't explain myself, and people can't understand me all the time. Because people keep, I mean, at the beginning, people would keep telling me, oh, repeat that, repeat that. I mean, and you're like, I thought I knew how to speak English. Yeah, so, but, I mean, you just need to be confident about it and, you know, just deal with it. And over time, people just understand how you speak and adjust. Yeah.
In the Kenyan system, after you're done with your grade 12, you into the university, you're done with the university, you hustle to get this job. I don't know whether it's the same with studying abroad, or once you're out of school, you just get a job. It's a freestyle thing that, you know, I'm guaranteed to get a job after I'm done with my studies.
I think it's the same everywhere, but I guess the level of difficulty it's a lot more here in Kenya, right? So in the US, there's a lot more jobs than, I mean, if you want a job in the US, you'll get it, right? But then if you want a job that obviously fits your skills and, you know, like pays you like well, I think that's where you need to, I mean, it's quite difficult in terms of, for example, when I was graduating, I think I applied to 200 positions before I could even get like one. And this is like, you write a cover letter, you send your resume. For some, you do like 1 or 2 interviews before you get to that point. So I mean, it's hassle. I mean, it's a different type of hassle, but yeah, everyone hassles actually.
Okay.
Yeah, even from Harvard actually. Like for me, as in, I mean, people assume that, you know, just because you went to a good school and stuff, a job is automatic, but it's not that. It's not that way. And I mean, and I know a lot of people who graduate from Harvard before they get a job, and, you know, it takes them maybe a few months to get a job. But eventually it happens. But I think the US is very, I think, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities compared to here, especially for someone who's done a degree and, you know, yeah.
What are some of the things that you had to change really to be part of the system? Because there's new culture, it's a different country, you know, used to things the way they're done, it's different here.
No, I think the most critical thing for me was learning quite early that, you know, I think in the US also you have to network a lot, right? Because if you just stay in your dorm and you're just like on your own, like studying and being smart and all that, I mean, like you'll just end up, because I mean, I had classmates who were just like focused on being the best in class and all that, but then when it got to graduation and you're looking for jobs, if you hadn't really done your networking, I think it's very difficult to navigate, like, you know, even if you have good grades, sometimes it's quite difficult. So you have to really, you know how to relate with people, know how to keep in touch with people, you know, ask for, because I mean, you have to be very bold about asking someone, okay, can you help me with this? And, you know, and I think Americans are they're very happy to help, but then you have to ask and to be very straightforward about it. Don't be like, you know,
do you think like we in Kenya, we're not ready to help each other?
I think because here, I mean, and I think it's different here, right? Because over there, like, you're a foreigner, right? So you don't have your networks like here in Kenya, for example. Because here in Kenya, you have your classmates, you have your schoolmates, you have probably your relatives or village mates who you can ask, okay, can you find me a job, or can you connect me to this and that? So you can imagine you're in a foreign country, you barely know anyone else. And so how do you navigate your way around? And you're black as well, so that's another discriminating thing. So yeah, so you have to really be aggressive in terms of, you know, looking for opportunities, connecting with people, and yeah, it works out, but you still need to put in the effort.
Even as we move to the next question that I want to ask about gender equality in education. In the Kenyan system, kind of for ladies, women, the grade is a little bit lower than for the male gender.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same in studying abroad?
I don't think so. I mean, because I think there's gender, because I mean at Harvard, I think there were more women than men actually. It was like maybe 51, 49 or something like that. And you know, in all the classes I was in, I think, I mean, the girls were even performing better.
So yeah. The female gender is,
I mean,
more,
yeah, I think it's a problem here because of like, you know, our cultural and a lot of things that are the way the system is set up here, like, you know, kind of disadvantages like girls from the beginning. But over there, I think, you know, there's a lot of equality and, you know, things have leveled up, right? Yeah.
How favorable is the education system for the disabled?
I mean,
sorry, you wanted to say a point.
No, I'm saying so. Though, I mean, if you read the U.S. history, up until actually the 60s, 1960s, 1970s, actually women were not allowed to, you know, get admitted into the top schools in the U.S. Like Harvard, for example, I think started admitting maybe women maybe in the 50s or 60s. So it's like very recent actually for a university that is almost 400 years old. And, you know, there were like segregation in terms of women had their women colleges and then, you know, the men were on this other side. So,
is the environment favorable for the disabled?
Yeah, I think the U.S. is very, I mean, that's where like all places are, you know, disability accessible. So in terms of there are ramps everywhere, like, you know, they're provided with support in terms of anything they need on campus. So, yeah.
Okay. Exams system. The setup is like ours?
Can you explain that?
Yeah, our setup, the system is like if you, maybe speak of one, the exam is set, there's invigilation that is done in class, an invigilator, the exam is marked and you're given the grades. That semester is done to the next semester, to the third year, to specialize and things like those.
No, yeah, I mean, I think the exam system is the same, but then slightly different. Slightly different in the U.S. For some, it depends on the course. Okay. So, for example, if it's a math course, obviously you go sit in an exam, there's an invigilator and all that. But then for some courses, you know, it's writing a paper, for example, and yeah, you write your paper on your own and then submit it, and you get the grades. For some, there's exams that are called open page, where you can have a book, and you know, so long as you do the exam within that 1 hour.
Okay, you have your book.
It's an open book, right?
Yeah,
you can use whatever material that you can get. But then it has to be within that. If it's 2 hours, it has to be within that 2 hours. Yeah. So you have to know, as in, you have to have read or prepared, because if you have the book, yes, but then where do you know where to get information from and stuff? So,
okay.
And then there's a lot of group work as well, so where you do group projects and then you're graded as a group. So that's another point.
I think that's the same with us here,
so
because
it's
more
the same,
because we have group work and
but
we are graded.
But I think the grading, I think there's a lot of emphasis on contributions, especially for some of the classes, especially in social sciences, for example. There's a lot of emphasis on contribution in class. So, for example, as I said, like some courses, you'll find 40% of your end of semester grade will come from your contribution in class. So your attendance, you know, your contribution in terms of, you know, the quality of your contribution in class will determine like a lot. So you can imagine if it's 40%, 60% will probably be from the exam and probably a writing thing. So you can imagine like you really have to be out there contributing and making sure that you're attending the classes.
Okay. So as we compare the education system in Kenya and studying abroad, what are the 5 things or 3 things that you want we incorporate into the system to be better, you know, as a country and the education system and as people as a whole?
I mean, I think one is critical thinking is, I think, one of the most important things. So critical thinking, reading comprehension, I think, writing, and also flexibility, right? So, and versatility in terms of, you know, being able to have an all-rounded, you know, education. So not just being on, you know, you're doing engineering, you're just doing engineering. So I think those 4 or 5 things, I think, are critical. Because I think for me, writing and reading comprehensions are 2 very critical things. So writing, critical thinking, and reading comprehension. With those, I think you can do anything, because you could get any job and learn on the job if you're able to, you know, if you have those 3 skills, right?
Okay. Yeah. Being all-rounded means that we have to incorporate, like you had how many courses?
32.
2.
What is that?
You did how many courses?
No, I did, as I said, I did classes in finance, in economics, math, science, all the sciences. So I think, so that's what I mean by, you know, being able to know at least one thing in each segment or each course or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So that when people are talking about economics, you can have a conversation about it, right? If people are talking about politics, you still can speak about politics. If someone is talking about history, you're able to, like, know the history of, let's say, the US or history of whatever. Not just being let's say, a doctor who doesn't know the history or know like stuff in politics, for example, or the economy, for example. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Abel Barreto, for coming for today's show. We're comparing education in the system abroad and here in Kenya. Hope you've been knowledgeable on the same. Thank you so much. This has been Diaspora Fusion on Look Up TV. I am your host, Jupiter Mayaka. See you next time.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv.